What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter, May 20th, Monday. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. There's nothing to catch up on because we already had a whole meeting earlier.
It's all right. Yeah. Just
um,
dive right in.
yeah, for sure. All right, guys. So we got a cool business that we're going to show you. The top franchisee makes 6.1 million in sales, and we will also cover the averages, what the lowest franchisees make. We are equal opportunity when it comes to sharing, or we're just fully transparent. We show you everything. Anyways, today we're going to talk about a franchise resale that's selling for pretty cheap. We're again going to show you that one franchise where the top franchisee makes $6.1 million in sales as per the FDD. We're actually going to do something new today. Kevin's going to break down a client that we've helped buy a franchise, and we're going to break down kind of just how he did it and came to that conclusion based on his personality assessment that we have him take, what brands were presented. It's actually going to be pretty cool. I'm excited about it. And then a franchisor who built a $2.5 million a year corporate location that I had on the podcast, which is pretty interesting. So let's dive into this resale. Tell us about this resale, Kevin.
Yeah, and chime in with any questions if you're listening in. Happy to answer any questions along the way. But this particular resale is called Blue Kangaroo Packout. So this is it's an interesting business model. They work with restoration companies. So when you think of restoration, you think of like ServPro, Paul Davis, Puro Clean, Voda, all these restoration companies out there that do water damage remediation, fire damage remediation. So they get referrals from companies like that, as well as insurance carriers, to basically come in. And what they do is they take all of your personal belongings, if you have, one of those incidents, and then they essentially like clean it, sanitize all your personal belongings, and then put them in storage until your home is like basically reconstructed. So a lot of people don't think about this part of the business, but it is a little bit unique, and a lot of the restoration business companies don't actually do this. So it's kind of an interesting franchise. I'm actually was just working with a client recently that had a water damage in their home, and they had a company like this come in and do this. So they were very well familiar with this service, and he wanted to learn more about this particular franchise. So this one, I think it's a relatively new concept, but it's kind of cool because they do have like national accounts with insurance carriers. So, this is something that insurance pays for. It's not out of pocket for the customer. So it's really about like operational efficiencies, providing good customer service, responding to customers when there are these incidents. So this particular resale is in Boise, Idaho. It was just started summer of last year, 2023. Asking price of $215,000. I'm pretty sure that's cheaper than what it would cost to get into a new unit. So this one is owned by a husband-wife team that each own their own businesses respectively. And I think they just maybe bit off more than they could chew. And so they haven't been able to allocate the time and resources to Blue Kangaroo that they've wanted to. But I think in quarter one, they did around 75,000 in revenue. So it's definitely like they've kind of jump-started this. So I think this is, I wouldn't say it's a well-established resale by any means, but it's also not like it's just getting started and it's only a territory sale. It is generating revenue. They do have some referral partnerships in the Boise area. They have a warehouse already set up. So pretty streamlined process to get into this one. There's, a box truck included with all the equipment and stuff you need. So Boise, we've talked about Boise before. It's a fast growing market. I looked it up. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the US. So, I think a lot of potential there to grow this business. And so, like we said, if we want to scroll down the take, it is something that's more of a need, not than a want. You need to get this taken care of when you have damage in your home, and you want to take care of your personal belongings. This is like stuff that is sentimental and value, and they want to make sure that it's, recovered, restored, and then stored until they can move back into their home. So yeah, and like I said, you would get a lot of referrals from other restoration companies. You get from plumbing companies, where you imagine there's a pipe leak and there's water damage in the home. So a lot of different referral partnerships. And then according to the FDD, the 2023 average unit volume for all locations was just around 880,000. So this one definitely something to potentially take a look at if you're into more of a need, not a want type of business.
That's interesting. So, I didn't know that there was a specific franchise. I knew that there were some segments in that industry, but I like that they can benefit from all of the different ones because there are a lot of restoration companies out there.
Hmm. I like restoration in general. I mean, even though there is a lot of competition, because it is, you're helping families in a time of need, which there's like that purpose part of it, but also like it can be pretty lucrative because it is a need. Like you have to get it done, and there is a lot of demand for it. So that's why there is a lot of competition. But yeah, you're right. If you can be good at networking and getting those referral relationships, it can be a nice little niche within that industry.
Yeah, super interesting. My buddy, I've told you about him. He built a non-franchise restoration business. He built it to like $12 million a year in sales.
Hmm.
Eventually, last year, was it last year? Was it late last year or early this year? He sold it to a private equity company for a lot of money. He had been doing it for like 10 years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So, for those of you, well, number one, well, let's go backwards. So, if you're in Boise and you're interested in this opportunity, you want to learn more and get connected with the owner and franchisor, go to franchiseempire.com/resales, and you can schedule a free call with the team, and then we'll be able to make that introduction for you. Or if you're just interested in finding out what resales could be available in your specific area or market, then go ahead and fill that out, and you'll be able to set up a free call with the team. Again, we've been having some unique access to different resales that may not be publicly shown in the market. So there is definitely more and more of an advantage from having that conversation with us, just because I guess Kevin is getting us known for helping people find resale opportunities. So individuals, franchisors are bringing us opportunities that really haven't hit the market yet, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a team effort, for sure. But the other thing is like there may not be something available now in terms of a resale, but if you reach out and we can kind of understand what you're looking for and keep an eye on that for you, that's something we can offer as well. So, if you're interested, reach out, and you're serious, reach out and schedule a call.
100%. Boom. All right, let's go. And for those of you, I mean, I feel like most of you watching, the reason why you are watching is because you're on our email list. But in case you aren't, just make sure that you can get this in your inbox every Sunday morning by going to franchiseempire.com/newsletter, and we send it out for free. You'll just go to that website and put your email info in. We're going to talk about the franchise that makes $6 million, or the franchisee that makes $6 million as a top franchisee, in just a minute. Before that, we're going to do the client case study thing a little bit differently. And I think it's going to be pretty interesting, actually. So, what is this thing that we're looking at on the screen, and why does it matter to people who may be interested in owning a franchise?
Yeah. So I thought we would give some insight into like how we go about working with clients and how we come up with the ideas or franchise ideas, and present those to the clients. So um, I wanted to give a case study where, Clay is completely opposite personality style than me. I was thinking initially, I was like, you know what, I'll show an assessment that is similar to me, but completely opposite personality assessment. And I very much enjoyed working with Clay for a number of reasons. But one of the first parts of our process is to have you take a skills assessment, essentially, that was built for the franchising industry. It's been used for 10 plus years. Not anything we've created. It's something that's used fairly widely in the industry, and it helps
Created by scientists.
created by behavioral scientists. She's a badass. She's awesome, and so she's incorporated a lot of different like personality assessments into this particular assessment. So you'll see some like DISC elements, which you see here, work style. But what's fascinating about it is a lot of franchise systems will have their top performers take this assessment and build a profile of their common characteristics. So we can see that information as coaches and help align our clients to the right type of system. But it really gives us an insight into how Clay is wired, what his motivators are, what his work styles like, what his skill sets are. And that is an important factor, along with financials, of course, to help find the right type of franchise. So we're just showing a couple snippets from the assessment. This shows his work style as a high thinker. And then second was a connector. So thinkers are people that are pretty analytical. It makes sense. He's a software engineer. They tend to be very systematic. They like to have checklists. They like to have, structure. Probably like an emerging brand for Clay that's not as well established would not be a good fit because, frankly, emerging brands sometimes have, they're still figuring out stuff on the fly. And so, this type of work style, it provides insight into what type of, franchise and type of business overall might be a good fit. Second was connector, which means, the most people oriented of the four work styles, very good at building relationships, very good at managing people. So when we started having conversations around this, he revealed like, yeah, I love managing a team. I feel like I'm good at it. I like it, and so not everybody likes that. And not everybody's going to be comfortable with building a team in a franchise. So, work style is one of them. If we scroll down, we can see a couple other sections here. It's a little bit small. Okay, there we go. Competency scores. So this talks about, which is basically your skill set. So very, very well-rounded. When I look at, this type of competency rating, it shows me that, he could step into a number of different roles in the business. What he's naturally going to gravitate to and be the best at is managing people, which we kind of, we already alluded to that based on his work style, but sometimes we see this and it's really high for like sales and very low for like admin, which would be mine. And so, you have a conversation around like, okay, would you like a franchise system that requires sales from the owner or not necessarily? And in this case, Clay, he would ideally not have something that was heavy in sales. And so, it just kind of helps, again, give us some insight, into the type of business that might make sense for him. So yeah, I'll pause there. I've been talking a lot. Tarek, do you have anything to add there?
Let's see. It's just this stuff is key. What I often see is, we have every situation that reaches out to us just from this YouTube channel and email list of, I'm looking at this franchise and I really like this franchise. And it's like, well, how did you come up with that? How did you narrow it down to that? Well, I just thought it'd be cool to own this sort of franchise, or I experienced it as a customer, or there's no rhyme or reason to the strategy. It's almost like as if you just got in your car, you started driving. And you're like, well, why are we headed west? You're just like, I don't know. The west freeway was open, so I just turned on it. You're like, what? But where are you trying to go? That doesn't make sense. So this is just it's a really intentional, huge part of the process to be like, hey, you are wired a certain way with certain skill sets to naturally be good at certain things. How do you find a business that aligns with that? And that's like the whole point of that. Also, like your comfort zone. And so, although it's possible for people to succeed in businesses that they're not wired for, you got to be someone super growth minded where you're so willing to get out of your comfort zone and develop your skill sets. What I've found is that people generally don't change much and they're going to do what they're going to do overall.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, and he was no different. He came to us with it was a brand new franchise, big investment. I think they had maybe two locations, and as we went through the process, he pretty quickly realized like that probably wasn't the best fit for his first business, just based on our discussions here and the risk. And he was in a position where he could continue to work as a software engineer and maybe start something on the side, or he could go full time into it. Like he was like approaching early retirement, so that was also something we kept in mind. Like, okay, is there something he could kind of get up and running while he kept his job? So all of those factors, of course, investment on what he wanted to do, all that factored into the brands we recommended and presented to him.
Which will hit that. So Kevin, I don't know if I told you this, but we blurred it out in the actual email.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because that way people would watch it here. Because I feel like there needed to be some context to it. So do you want to talk? You want to talk about like why you? I mean, you kind of really hit it, but why you presented those brands?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I did give a little summary there. I forgot about that. But, along with like skill set, we also want to know about your interests, I mean, and so, on that bottom line there, he talks about outdoors. He loves dog. He had a couple dogs, very handy. So he had actually done several home improvement projects. So that initially I was like, well, man, if you're comfortable managing those type of projects, like, would you be comfortable managing people that are doing that type of work? And he was like, yeah, for sure. I think that'd be interesting. So that led to some of these brands. So some of the franchises we found for him was a Window Genie, was a resale opportunity. Um, that's like a window washing pressure power washing company. Mr. Electric, which is an electrical business. Woofies, which is a dog grooming business, a mobile dog grooming business. Five Star Bath, bath remodeling business. Pest Master, which is a pest control business that also does a lot of government work, and he had ties to government contractors in the area, which I thought was interesting. Painter One, which is a painting franchise, and Mako. He had some interest in automotive, and Mako's a really well established like what do you call that, body maintenance or uh, like a body shop. I forget what the right term is on
Is
that.
it?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
So
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I know it. I've heard of it. I don't know exactly what they do.
yeah, it's a
Body
body
shop.
shop basically. If you have like a accident, they can repair, the structure and they do like paint jobs and things like that. So it's actually a really good franchise. But anyways, so those were the seven that we presented to him. Which one do you remember? Which one he ended up going with, or no? Yeah,
Yeah, Mr. Electric.
yeah, yeah. So ended up going with Mr. Electric because it checked a lot of his boxes. He was actually going to kind of get it launched earlier than he thought because he could kind of do a lot of things to get that business launched and get that first electrician hired while he kept his job. So and then it was more of an operational type of play, not a lot of sales involved. They do a good job of getting leads for their owners, and then there was just other ways to scale within that neighborly network. So his goal was to ultimately potentially buy another neighborly brand and kind of have a complementary service to Mr. Electric. So yeah, anything, what
That's
did I?
all. No, I think it's great. It just shows you the depth of our process overall, and actually, it's like this comment teed it up by Danielle or Danielle or Danielle. I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. Um, which is, we're not in the business, the type of support we provide. We're not really in the business of just providing lists for people. What we do is it's a consultation. It's an approach to, hey, get to know you. So you can certainly enter to see if what territories are available. And so, as an example, if you're interested in any of those specific brands, we can check to see if the territory is available. But we still need to have a conversation with you. We still need to have you do the Zoracle. We still need you to complete a net worth spreadsheet to make sure that you're even in a position to pull the trigger on the franchise and you meet their financial qualifications, because they're not going to call. They're like, if we introduce you, it's our responsibility to make sure that you're in a position to financially be able to move on that franchise if, if that was the case at all. Um, so yeah, anyway, so if you're interested in any of those brands, you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory and set up a free call with Kevin or someone on our team to check and see. So Danielle, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. You can go fill that out, and then we're happy to have a conversation with you to see. Territory checks are a manual process. It takes some work on our part just to go and submit to the franchisors to see if those territories available, and we need to know and make sure that you even have the means to be able to even pull the trigger, and that you're just not like just randomly shopping for like, hey, just send me a list, and then no, there's some effort, guys. This is a collaboration, and in us helping you. But like, no one's trying to sell you a franchise. We're not in the business of selling franchise people. That's not what we do, right? It's, hey, if you're at a time where we want to know what's got you looking into franchising right now, right? If you're like, hey, I'm looking to just make a bunch of passive income, and I'm like, we're probably going to tell you like, hey, that's not realistic. So like, it may not be a good fit to look at buying a franchise because your expectations may be unrealistic. We
Yeah.
could leave the conversation like that, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I tell people that, and also it's like just sending the list is going to be a huge waste of like everyone's time, because like without understanding so many things like your income goals, like I've gone through conversations early on with people and we go through a list of different types of franchises and they're like, "Ooh, I'm interested in that." I'm like, "Well, it's not going to meet your income goal. Are you still interested?" Like, and then it just like people could go so far down the path with a franchise and realize like this isn't going to be a good fit, and they waste all this time and they get frustrated. It's like, just spend the time up front to do the right process, and then we'll align you with the right franchises to really spend a lot of time going through validation, because that takes a lot of time and effort. And so we see a lot of times where people like go too fast into validation and then they get really flustered and they're like, "Oh, franchising isn't the right fit for me," when really they just weren't looking at the right franchises.
it's a good point. Yeah, it's easy to look at yeah, it's easy to. There's so many brands. If you look at the wrong thing, it's easy to be like, not for me. It's an art and a science, really, helping folks find the right franchise opportunities. And Danielle, honestly, actually, I'm really glad you asked that question, because it provided us the opportunity to really, clarify, because we're really committed to just making sure that people save themselves time, headache, money, and are able to really just kind of narrow down and hone in on the right, opportunities. With that said, let's hit the franchise of the week. So tell us about this one, Kevin.
All right. I know we both have a hard stop here in 5 minutes, so I'm going to go through quickly on this one. So it's 1 hour heating and air. So it's an HVAC franchise that has been around since 2003. It's owned by Authority Brands, which is kind of like an umbrella brand that owns, I think they own like 12-ish different franchises now. Pretty big. They're a great network. They have a lot of good franchises. So some benefits there. But 1 hour heating and air is the HVAC franchise. I think they're the largest franchise in the HVAC space in the industry. So they have 385 units throughout the country.
Wow.
Really well established. Yeah. And then 28 corporate owned franchise units, or 28 corporate owned units. So total investment range for this one's between 131 and 274. For an HVAC business, there's a lot of startup and capital expenses, and you have to pay HVAC technician salaries. So I would plan on towards the higher end of that investment, but a really scalable business. So everybody needs HVAC services, especially if you live in a climate that has drastic weather changes like I do, where it's very, very cold in the winter and very, very hot in the summer. Is a wear and tear on your HVAC unit, and it's hard to live without the proper climate within your home. So, there's a reason that these businesses are in high demand. And when you look at the item 19 for this franchise, you can kind of see how it is scalable. So, like we said in the intro, the top unit's doing 6.13 million in gross sales. The median for the top 25% of performers, the median is 2.66 million, which is pretty solid. The second quartile is 1.5 million. And then even the third quartile is pretty strong, so I believe in this type of model. Again, I've said this before on other brands. You do get some in like the bottom quartile that are, maybe have an HVAC background and are still just kind of doing the actual operations of it, like the actual work in their business. So that's probably why they have some lower performers.
What, like they're actually the tech?
Exactly. They're actually the tech. So that's not what 1 Hour Heating and Air wants. They want business savvy people. They're very clear about that now. And they'll actually be very hands-on hiring those initial techs. They have a whole process. So I've been impressed with this brand. It's not for everybody. You got to be able to really grow and scale a business and manage, a team of HVAC techs, which has its complications.
Yeah, cool. Boom. Is that anything else we need to go through on it?
I don't I don't think so.
Sweet. Cool. Well, Kevin and I both have a hard stop in 2 minutes. So for those of you who want to see if this brand is available in your area or what franchise brands are available in your specific area that you're in, you go to franchise. It's scrolling down there. I also dropped the link in the comments, but you go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. You'll be able to schedule a free call to see what's available in your area. You'll also be able to do that Zoracle assessment for free. If you just want to do that, we do have the ability to you can just take that without any sort of like obligations or anything like that. After you take it, it just sends directly to your email. So we can certainly send you the link for that too, if you want to do that. Yeah. And then last but not least, I recently sat down with someone who built it's $2.7 million a year. Okay, not 2.5. A franchisor who built a cool business. She was a Harvard graduate, which is crazy. Quit her high-paying finance job during the recession of 2008 to start this business, kind of teaching people how to cook and like hosting date nights and very interesting stuff. She built her corporate unit into doing 2.7 million a year in sales. That's what it shows in the FDD. Anyways, it was a really cool interview. You can check it out on the Franchise Empire show, which you can just type that into YouTube and see the Franchise Empire show YouTube channel, or wherever you consume your podcast. You can grab it there as well. Outside of that, that's what we got for today. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we'll see you next Monday. Peace out.